What is good, everyone? Welcome to this video. I'm Charlie from Conscious Creation, and in this video I would like to share with you what the mirror principle is and 3 ways that can actually help you apply it easily in your life. So actually understanding this information is such a game changer because there's not many people who actually teach you how reality works. You know, when you receive something, you usually get an instruction manual, but no one teaches you how reality works. People just say, this is the way it is. Now, if you can understand this mirror principle, it can really put you in an amazing place. I'm going to share with you how this actually works. So the basic idea of the mirror principle is that everything in your reality is simply a mirror and reflecting back to you what is going on within you. So what you need to do is you need to focus on your internal state, choose consciously to create a new internal state, and understand that this is going to be reflected back to you. Now, the biggest thing about this, which most people get confused about, is that there's a delay effect. Because of the reality that we live in, if you could manifest things instantaneously, think how much havoc we would create because of the amount of fear still within people. If you could manifest things instantaneously, we would create a lot more problems than actually solving them. We have this delay effect and we can see our manifestation unfold as we go. So what you need to do in order to create this internal conviction is you need to be a vibrational match to the reality that you want. So if there's a reality that you want, let's say you want to create your dream reality, is you need to make that feel normal and natural internally within you. Like everything in your reality now feels normal and feels natural, right? That's the same feeling. That is what is meant by a vibrational match to the reality that you want. So you go through this process, I talk about this in my other videos, this process of visualizing, mentally rehearsing, getting really used to the feeling of what it would feel like to be living in your dream reality. This will start to wire in that new version of yourself. Now, once it is wired in within you, you have that internal state, you have that internal conviction. You start taking action towards the things that you want because yes, you can visualize as much as you want, but if you open your eyes and you see it's not around you, it just reinforces the idea that it's not in your reality. So it's really important, once you have wired this within yourself, to start taking some action, any action towards that goal. And the action's actually going to be much more effective because you have wired it into yourself. So let's say, for example, you are currently earning 20K a year and you want to be a vibrational match to a reality where you are earning 100K or much more, whatever you want. You know, thinking about the things that you could do, the vacations that you could take, how you could help people, and you want to wire that within yourself and start to feel it, and then you start taking the action. So the rubber hits the road, so to speak, and you start creating friction, you start creating momentum towards your goals. So I'm going to share with you a simple way that you can look at this. Let's say I've got my stick man or stick woman here, and they have that astral field going around them. So what they're doing, whatever is within that astral field, they are going to project that into the world. So they project, and here we have the mirror of reality that is reflecting our internal state. So the mirror reflects back. Now, pretty much everyone will have some form of experience growing up that is traumatic. And we start to create an identity through these traumatic experiences. So maybe you have a sense of doubt. Maybe you don't feel worthy. Maybe you think things are hard to get. You've been conditioned that to get the things that you really want, you have to work incredibly hard in order to get them. Now, if you are holding this within your being, within yourself, you're projecting that out into the world, and this mirror of reality is just reflecting that back to you as a truth. And that's when we say this is the way that things work, because reality is showing us this is the way that things work. So for example, if let's say this is a mirror, okay, and I'm looking at the mirror. If I want to change my reflection, I don't try and change the mirror. I change myself. If I want to change my hair, I change my hair and I get a different reflection. It is exactly the same with your reality. However, because of this delay effect, we don't have faith that this is going to reflect back to us. So what we need to do is we need to go within ourselves and we need to notice these things. This is why shadow work is so powerful. Why do you feel unworthy? Why do you hold a lot of doubt? And you start to be aware of that stuff and you start to let it go. As you start to let it go, you are going to get a different reflection in your reality. So again, we're not trying to change the mirror, we're changing things within ourselves and we get a different reflection. Now, behind the mirror, giving us the perfect reflection is the quantum field, the quantum realm. Okay, it is infinitely intelligent, much smarter than we are, and it knows how to give us the perfect reflection. Now, we think it's our job to change the mirror. We try and do the job of the quantum world because of our mind. Our mind likes convincing, it wants control, it wants to figure how things are going to work out. So that's who tries to change the mirror. And that's when it becomes a problem, because we do not have faith in our internal to then reflect back to us. Okay, so I'm going to explain this in a more practical way so you can understand it a bit better. So here we have a graph. Now, let's say we're creating our internal state. We're visualizing, we're creating that internal conviction of what it would be like to be living in our dream reality. We have wired that within ourselves, and now we start to take action towards it. We're excited, we have a positive attitude. We're like, I'm going to create my dream reality. I'm really excited. And you start making your way into this dream reality. But you start to notice things aren't really going well for you, and you start to doubt the process. Maybe a sense of patience starts to arise, and you're like, oh crap, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. Why isn't it working? And then we get to a point when we're down here and we say, I give up. I can't do this anymore. It's not for me. Now, it's usually when we give up, stuff starts to show up. So we start to get excited again. Our internal state starts to rise. We're like, yes, things are working for us. Here we have the delay of reality. So the mirror of reality delaying our internal state. So comes up like this. Now, because we had that initial high, that initial phase of having a positive internal state, that must manifest for us. And that's why at the point when we feel like giving up, that it shows up. But because we then had this dip again, we then have this reflected back to us by the mirror. And things aren't going well for us anymore. This is why things go good, things go bad. Things go good, things go bad. It's a bit like a businessman. Let's say you have a businessman and he is dependent on how he feels, depending on how his business is behaving. So if his business is going well, he feels good. If it's going poorly, he feels bad. He is dependent on an external thing to make him feel that way. Because of this yo-yo state within him, his business keeps going good and bad, good and bad. Let's say you get someone who wins the lottery and suddenly they've got all of this money, but they haven't wired themselves for that kind of money. And because of this, their internal state is not used to it. And so this is usually when people win the lottery, they very quickly lose all of that money because it's just going to reflect that internal state. So I'm going to share with you three ways that you can help keep a positive internal state within yourself so you can continue to get a positive reflection in your life. The first thing is the crossroad. So this means every event in your life, big or small, is like that of a crossroad. And how you react to the event determines which timeline you go down. So if you react positively, you will start to go down a positive timeline. If you react negatively, you will start to go down a negative timeline. So let's say, for example, you wake up in the morning and you drop your coffee. You start getting really, really mad. You're like, oh, today's going to be a really bad day. I just know today is going to be bad. You make your way to work, you hit every red traffic light, and everything just seems to go to pot. It is because it's reflecting your reaction to each circumstance. If anything ever happens to you, any event, good or bad, if you can say to yourself, is this good? Is this bad? I don't know. This is what I do. Whenever I come to something which I would perceive as negative, I ask myself, is this good or is this bad? I don't know. Show me something. And as soon as I do that, as long as I don't label it as bad, the thing that then follows on is always a positive because it's reflecting back my attitude. So if you get to a point where you are literally looking at the positive in everything in your life, you will get pulled down this positive timeline and you'll end up living a life that is much more enjoyable. And you'll ask yourself, I don't even know how I got here, because it is your reaction to each of these events. Now, I know it's cliche to say, oh, think positively, but it literally has a quantum effect on your reality. Now, the next thing you can do is you can be aware of your ego. So whenever you create an internal state inside yourself, some stuff's going to come up to the surface. That impatience, that doubt, that lack, this isn't going to work, this is a bad idea. All of that stuff comes up to the surface. Because think about it, if you were living your dream reality, you wouldn't be impatient. You wouldn't have all of that lack. You wouldn't be doubting things all of that time. So that stuff needs to rise to the surface so you can release it. But what most people do is when that stuff comes up to the surface, they identify with those feelings. And because of that, that's why we get the dip in the graph, because we start to feel and accept those emotions. So when you start to feel that stuff come up to the surface, all you need to do is watch it and don't judge it. Don't look at it as good or bad, just simply observe it and it will fly by and it's not affecting your internal state. The third thing that you can do is you can realize everything is part of the process and everything is happening for you and not to you. This is why I always share the mantra, everything is happening for you and not to you. Because once you do this, it changes your perspective, which changes how you feel about things. And it's much easier, coming back to the first point of the crossroads, of the events that are happening in your life. If you find it difficult to say, how could this possibly be a positive? Once you change your perspective and realize that your internal state must be reflected back to you with a delay, that everything that happens from there on out is happening for you. So if it feels like your current reality is crumbling, that needs to be swept away so your new reality can be brought in. And because reality is just this big mirror, it must reflect this back to you. The universe is not going to say no. It is trying to express itself through you. So having that desire means it wants you to experience something, but it's your job to get into the feeling state of it feeling natural. And that is when the reflection starts to kick in. So thank you for watching. Peace and take care.